the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. This show is a production of our non-profit organization, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF, and its affiliated political committee, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp. We have an exciting show for you tonight. We have Lanny Swerdlow, who helped start this show many years ago and now is the director of the Marijuana Anti-Prohibition Project down in Southern California, and also is opening a new office for the THCF medical clinics in Riverside, California. We also have Mr. Tim Pate here. He'll be providing musical accompaniment. As usual, we have a couple of hemp news stories we'll be reading in just a few moments, and a film clip from Hemp Revolution, a film that came out about 6 or 7 years ago about the world scene on hemp and cannabis. So stay tuned. We'll be taking your phone calls in just a minute as well. And as we always do, we'll take a little break and let you watch our infamous dancing cannabis leaves. All right, our first hemp news story tonight is from Montpelier, Vermont, the capital of Vermont. In the news just today, Vermont State Senate lawmakers will consider a bill making it a civil, not criminal offense to possess small amounts of marijuana. At the same time, they'll also look at a second bill increasing the penalties for possessing heroin or cocaine by reducing the amount possessed that constitutes a trafficking charge. The move comes following months of public debate on the efficacy and social and fiscal costs of Vermont's drug policies and whether it makes sense to decriminalize cannabis. Senator Richard Beers, a Vermont Democrat from Bennington, has scheduled a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee on the evening of January 23rd to hear from members of the public who have concerns about Vermont's drug policies. After the hearing, that committee is expected to begin taking testimony on the two-pronged approach, which would boost penalties for possessing the harder drugs and use civil violations and the court diversion program for cannabis possession. According to Senator Sears, the chair of the Vermont State Judiciary Committee, he said, quote, "I thought it was important to let the public weigh in before we started taking a close look at the proposals. This is a change in state law regarding drugs, and the public probably has some thoughts about this," end quote. The marijuana decriminalization bill proposed last year by Vermont State Senator Jeanette White would make it a civil violation with a fine of up to $1,000 to possess up to 4 ounces of marijuana or 2 small marijuana plants. Selling small amounts of marijuana would result in a $250 fine, according to this new bill. Possessing or selling larger amounts of the plant, more than 4 ounces or more than 5 plants, would still be a criminal act under Vermont law and could result in fines of up to $100,000 and 5 years in prison. Our next story is from Arizona. Arizona voters may get a chance this year to do what they thought they were doing in 1996, allow people who are ill to possess and use marijuana legally. An initiative being crafted would spell out that individuals who are certified by their doctors as needing the drug would be able to possess small amounts. The details are still being worked out, without running afoul of state law. They also would be able to grow their own cannabis. Backers, organized as the Arizona Medical Marijuana Policy Project, have until July 3rd to get the necessary 153,000 signatures necessary to put this measure up for a vote in Arizona on the November ballot. Financing for this initiative is coming from the National Marijuana Policy Project, which bills itself as the largest marijuana policy reform organization in the country. It's already kicked in $10,000 into that Arizona campaign. That organization is no stranger to state initiatives. It is also behind a 2006 Nevada ballot measure to decriminalize marijuana and instead regulate and tax it. That initiative just picked up 44% of the vote. 2 years earlier, though, it financed a successful medical marijuana initiative in Montana. Dan Burneth, a spokesman for the Marijuana Policy Project, said it appears voters are more willing to allow people who are ill to use medical marijuana than to make its possession legal for everyone. That's proven to be the case in Arizona, where by a 2-to-1 margin, voters in 1996 approved a law allowing doctors to recommend medical marijuana and various other illegal drugs to patients who are seriously or terminally ill. However, the Arizona state legislature repealed that law until the federal laws are changed. Our last story tonight is from Colorado. Policing cannabis in Colorado is about to get a lot more complicated. The kick-in-the-door raid SWAT teams have long employed could now cost the cities hundreds of thousands of dollars following 2 recent landmark court decisions upholding the state's constitutional protection of medical marijuana. Under the rulings, police departments in Colorado are required to return any marijuana and paraphernalia taken from state-sanctioned medical marijuana growers and can be sued by those growers if the crops aren't preserved. The largest case thus far involves Kevin Dix, who's a patient at the THCF Medical Clinic in Denver, Colorado. Dix intends to sue the Denver suburb of Aurora for over $360,000 in damages to his medical cannabis crop. It comes less than a month after a judge ordered the return of an estimated $200,000 of medical marijuana to a couple in Fort Collins. Dix, a 38-year-old Desert Shield Marine who suffers from debilitating pain after catching grenade shrapnel in the Gulf War, says he was treated worse by the Colorado police than by anyone in Iraq. In April 2007, Colorado officers raided his home after receiving a tip from a neighbor and, according to his lawyer, threw the disabled veteran to the ground, held him at gunpoint, and ransacked his home. They found 71 cannabis plants, at least 65 of which they confiscated illegally, and charged Dix with felony cultivation. After 8 months of legal wrangling, the Arapahoe County District Attorney dismissed the charges, determining that Dix was in fact a certified grower for not just himself but other patients as well. But by then, his cannabis plants were long dead. Thanks to the referendum that passed in the year 2000, which is now Article 13, Section 14 of the Colorado State Constitution, it stipulates that, quote, any property used in connection with the medical use of marijuana shall not be harmed, neglected, injured, or destroyed while in the possession of state or local law enforcement officials, end quote. Not being equipped with the grow room or know-how to maintain the cannabis plants, the Aurora police uprooted them and threw them in the evidence room. According to Detective Shannon Lucy, an Aurora police spokesman, illustrated her department's cultivation ignorance, explaining that they kept only the leaves, which she called the only thing of value, not the buds, in which most of the active ingredient THC resides. After obtaining a court order, Dix attempted to pick up his property yesterday afternoon from an Aurora police department. According to Corey, though, what the police returned was dry and useless. Of the 71 plants, only an estimated 3 ounces remained, none of which was usable from a medical perspective. He compared the incident to police seizing a person's car, which they believe was stolen, then smashing the windows, pouring sugar in the gas tank, and then returning it after discovering it wasn't stolen after all. Applying this general principle of law, it seemed natural to seek compensation, and using the DEA standards for cannabis value of $5,200 per plant, Dix will seek $369,000 in lost medicine. Aurora Police Chief Daniel Oates called the sum absurd and disputed the quantity of marijuana seized. He claimed that at no point during the April 27th raid did Dix inform police that he had a permit, though he also admitted that officers did not ask if he had one. It was only after Dix was removed from the scene that a permit was found. So that case is moving forward. Despite the district attorney's dismissal and subsequent court order for the return of the marijuana, Oates believes his officers acted correctly. Of course, he's trying to cover that up and get the compensation he can. That's the end of our Hemp News segment for tonight. we have Mr. Tim Pate over here, ready to burst into song. How are you doing tonight, Tim?
I'm doing very well, Paul. How are you tonight?
Very well, very well. Been kind of rough week in the family, but things turned out pretty well, and we're moving forward.
I'm glad to hear that. That's important.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I think I'll just do a little music here, if that's okay.
Okay, you got a song for us tonight?
I always have a little something.
I know, in your repertoire, you've got a lot. Well, I'd like to introduce Mr. Lanny Swerdlow here. Lanny, you're the president of the Marijuana Anti-Prohibition Director
of the Marijuana Anti-Prohibition Project.
Not to be confused with the Marijuana Policy Project.
No. You know what I named it? I didn't even know about MPP.
Right.
I probably wouldn't have done it then. I feel like I'm traipsing on their name.
Uh-huh. But you're not, so you were there.
Well, anyway, we're in the Inland Empire, Riverside, San Bernardino counties in Southern California.
So that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours west or east of the Los Angeles area.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours east of Los Angeles. It includes the famous Palm Springs, Coachella Valley area, and the not-so-famous Fontana in Ontario and Riverside. What they were famous for is I used to always refer to California as Northern California as medical marijuana nirvana, in Southern California as medical marijuana purgatory, and the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County and Riverside County, as medical marijuana hell, because they were still arresting medical marijuana patients and busting them, one plant and to jail. They never got convictions, but they kept on busting them. But fortunately, in Riverside County, we've stopped the arrest because of the new state-issued ID card that California has.
You were able to spearhead getting Riverside County to issue those state ID cards, and that was the first Southern California county to do that.
We're very proud of the fact that Riverside County was the first county to issue the card, and it just shows you what a group of patients who come together and work can actually achieve. We turned Riverside County, which is one of the worst counties in the state, into one that isn't quite as bad as it used to be. And if you have the card, I mean, it's great. If I told people 2 years ago that you could have six mature plants, flowering plants in your home, you could have a half pound of processed bud
under California's
under California law, and if a police officer came into your home for some reason, domestic disturbance, or you got robbed or whatever, and he came in your home and he found 6 plants growing there, and you showed him the state-issued ID card, he'd turn around and walk away and leave you alone. They would have wondered what I'd been drinking. Mm-hmm. So it's
a step forward.
It's a major step forward.
We have that in Oregon. You can have 6 mature plants, but only here you can have 24 ounces. So it changes state to state.
Yeah.
We have a phone call though. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Paul. How you doing?
Very well. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Great.
Say, Paul, I wanted to ask you, I've been watching this show for a few years, and it's been really great, and we're all trying to do our thing. There was a guy that used to come on the show before Tim, which, you know, Tim does serenade us nicely.
Yeah.
He was named Will Flowers, I think.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wanted to ask you, does he get a chance to come on anymore?
Yeah.
I know he had a wonderful song about the about our wonderful medical marijuana, and you know, it's kind of nice to hear that. And
he was at our Hipstock Festival this summer as well.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he played a couple of times there.
Oh man, that's great.
Did he?
Yeah.
Do you think,
between shows.
Does he ever? Do you think we'll ever get to hear him play on the
I
the
guarantee
show again?
it. He'll be back at some point.
Will he really?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great, because I know there's a few songs that you've let him play on, and you know, it's just been a while since we've got to hear him, and we were talking about him, and I figured I'd just call and see what was going on.
Next time I talk to him, I'll let him know that there was a request, and we'll ask him to come back on right away.
Well, that's great. Well, look, you guys have a good evening, and you're doing a great job for the cause.
Thank you,
Mark. Thank you.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Thanks. So, yeah, if you're out there and you're watching tonight and you want to call and ask Lanny, Tim, or myself a question about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. So we're talking about the Marijuana Anti-Prohibition Project.
What I'd really like to talk about is what we're doing in Riverside County with the THCF medical clinic we're opening up there.
Yeah.
And it's not so much the medical clinic. It's really cool. We're opening up a medical clinic just like the clinics up here. We're helping patients get their recommendations. But what's really neat about the new facility is that we have a classroom. And we're going to be offering weekly seminars on the medical and health benefits of using cannabis. We're going out in the community, and we're not just telling people it should be tolerated or it's good for you if you're on your deathbed. We're telling people that most people are better off using cannabis. We like to use the quote from Dr. Melamede's article.
And that's Robert Melamede of Colorado State University in Colorado Springs.
Right, professor of biology, wrote this fantastic article on cannabinoids, nature's natural harm reduction agent. And in the article he says the appropriate use of cannabis is better than no cannabis use at all. You are better off using cannabis than not using cannabis. And this is what people have got to learn. We have one of the most damaging things ever done to the healthcare system of this country was when marijuana was made illegal in the 30s. I mean, before then, it was a medicine.
Well, you know, the only people who came in and complained were
the doctors.
Dr. Woodward of the American Medical Association.
Well, most people didn't even know what was going on. The Doctors
didn't know to the last minute. He said, we just heard this was happening.
Right.
They tried to make him out like a communist or something.
And what's so crazy is that now the world's gone absolutely mad with marijuana prohibition that we have caused. And before
the United States has spearheaded these
it's just insane. We've got to change it, but we've got to change it. How are we going to change it? We've got to tell people why they should be using it.
Yeah.
And this is what we're inviting the general public to come down to these classes. We've got the state-of-the-art auditorium with a 10-foot by 12-foot projection screen and audio projections and videos. It's going to be really, really something. And
well, you know, we have some classes here in Portland. It's not the same thing yet, but we have a series of classes, including beginning gardening, advanced gardening, making medical-grade hashish, that are available every Wednesday night here in our Portland office. And so if you're out there and you're in the Portland area and you have a medical marijuana permit and want to come and take those classes, you can call our office there at that number on your screen, 503-235-4606. What's the number in Riverside now? It's 951-782-9898.
Very good.
It's 951-782-9898. We even have it on a CG here. We've announced it the last couple of weeks.
Oh.
It's not quite there yet.
Not there yet.
It will be.
Okay.
You'll see it in a minute.
So if you have friends in Riverside or San Bernardino County, hey, tell them to come on down to one of our seminars.
No, we have another caller here. Let's see what they got to say. Hi, caller. You're on our show.
Hi. I was just calling to find out what the criteria was for a medical marijuana license.
Well, that's good. It was just up there on the screen, but the thing that most people have is chronic pain. And there's a series of conditions that's good in every single state that has medical marijuana. And then there are other conditions that are only good in the state of California. So we'll just cover those conditions that are good in every single state. Chronic pain, I would say 60 to 70% of all the patients who have medical marijuana permits have chronic pain. And the largest category are people with ruptured discs in their back or compacted discs or any kind of displacement or change to their spinal column. But there are any other of innumerable conditions that cause chronic pain, whether it's some orthopedic problem or another condition. Also, there's chronic nausea and severe nausea, and any condition that causes chronic and severe nausea. There's a list of them right there. Also, AIDS, glaucoma, IBS, which is a gastrointestinal ailment, seizure disorders like epilepsy, spastic disorders like multiple sclerosis. Asthma is also a spastic condition, so it qualifies, as does GERD, gastrointestinal disorders, and hepatitis C, also Crohn's disease, and cancer qualify for medical marijuana in all states. And so, did that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, because myself, I'm a disabled veteran for high anxiety and stress. I've got deteriorating disc disease from my neck all the way down past my shoulders.
That's a very good illustration of just the difference between Oregon and California in terms of your deteriorating disc disease, or DDD, qualifies for medical marijuana in Oregon, Washington, California, Hawaii, Colorado, Nevada. Every state that has a medical marijuana permit allows people with deteriorating disc conditions or degenerative disc disease to qualify for medical marijuana. But your other conditions, was that PTSD?
He said high anxiety and stress, and
those qualify in California.
In California, you could receive a doctor's recommendation for anxiety, for stress, for depression. You know, the law says are for any other ailment that the physician feels would benefit from cannabis use. And, you know, that's the way it should be. Because right now, I mean, any medicine that is approved by the FDA, the doctor can give it to you for any reason you want. It doesn't have to be specified for what the company says this drug is for. They can give it to you for any off-label reason they feel you would benefit from it. And that's the way it should be with cannabis, too. It is, you know...
I agree with that. Obviously, we're opening the clinic down there in Riverside to serve all the...
You should be lobbying whatever you have to lobby to get them to expand the use of cannabis and get some of the doctors and professors. You know, there's something I'd like to push here for everybody who is your audience. You know, on August 4th and 5th, a group called Patients Out of Time, which is a medical, they have a website, medicalcannabis.com. They sponsor these therapeutic conferences on cannabis.
They had one in Portland about 5 years ago.
They had one in Santa Barbara 2 years ago. And in 2008, this year, on April 4th and 5th, they're holding it in Pacific Grove, which is near Monterey. They are bringing a list of some of the premier researchers, and two of them that are very exciting is Dr. Donald Tashkin from UCLA. He's the one that did the study that showed that whether you smoke marijuana or not, you're no more likely to develop lung cancer. So he showed marijuana doesn't cause lung cancer. So much for that old bugaboo. And in fact, he even
it was a surprise because Tashkin had always been published articles against medical cannabis and cannabis.
Dr. Tashkin was the go-to man for the Office of National Drug Control Policy to produce stuff that is negative on cannabis. He's the one that did the study that showed that there are the same carcinogens found in cannabis smoke as found in tobacco smoke, and in fact, you'll hear this thing, you know, 1 cannabis cigarette equals 4 tobacco cigarettes. Well, it was Dr. Tashkin's study that did it. And this last study that really changed him, not only did his study show that marijuana doesn't cause lung cancer, but there's one subset of the study, and that was a group of people who smoke cannabis, and that's all they smoke, versus a group of people who don't smoke anything at all. And in that group of people, the people that smoke cannabis had a lower incidence of lung cancer than the people that didn't smoke anything.
And that's when Tashkin started to change his tune. And he finally came to our side.
And what's interesting
is... He's turned from the dark side.
What's interesting is at this same conference, we're going to have Dr. Manuel Guzman from Spain, and he's the one that's been doing research that shows that the cannabinoids found in cannabis, one, inhibit
brain cancer,
they inhibit the
from Complutense University. They're in Madrid.
Go ahead and finish it.
Hey, I did.
You showed that it inhibits cannabis, it inhibits cancer growth, and not only does it inhibit cancer growth, but it meets the gold standard of what a cancer drug is supposed to be, and that is that it selectively kills cancer cells and leaves non-cancerous cells alone. And the problem with all these cancer drugs we have right now is they're very good at killing cancer cells, but they also kill everything else around them.
They're highly toxic.
But marijuana doesn't do that. And so these two people coming together, this one conference, it's going to be incredible. You shouldn't miss it. You shouldn't miss it. You can go to www.medicalcannabis.com. You can learn more about this conference. It's well worth your while. And there's absolutely nothing legal talked about at the conference. It's such a refreshing breath of fresh air. It's all medical. It's all health. And by the way, if you're a doctor or you're a nurse or in the healthcare profession, you have to get continuing education unit. This is... You will get CEUs towards renewal of your license.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you should, so if you're in the health profession, you should especially make the time to come to this conference.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, and can this permit be
you're
issued
still
by
there.
any doctor, or does it have to be from the VA, or?
What was that?
Say that one more time.
Can this permit be issued by any doctor, or does it have to be a certain doctor?
In the state of Oregon, there's paperwork from the health department that has to be filled out, and then that paperwork has to be turned in to the health department with a fee. In Oregon, that fee's $100 per person. It's paid directly to the Oregon Department of Health. Unless you're on the Oregon Health Plan, Social Security, Supplemental Security Income, or I think food stamps. And if you have one of those three programs, then it's just a $20 annual fee. Then once you turn that paperwork in, they send a letter to your doctor and ask if they recommended medical marijuana, and the doctor has to say, yes, I did, and send it back to the health department. So with Veterans Administration doctors, because they work for the federal government, they're usually not willing to do that.
Yeah, my doctor.
However, we have a list of doctors that we can refer you to, and we have doctors throughout the western United States, both here in Portland, throughout Oregon, throughout Washington, California, Hawaii, Colorado, and if you need a doctor referral, then you can call that number that's there on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. If you're up in the Seattle area, then you would call 206-878-1701. The number that just popped up there. That's 206-878-1701. If you're watching in Denver, and this television show is the most popular cable access show in the city of Denver, according to their website, then you call us at 303-403-9996. That's 303-403-9996. If you're down in the Inland Empire in Southern California, you'd call 951.
Yes.
Yeah, 951-782-9898. That's 951-782-9898. Now, if you're outside of those major metropolitan areas, you'd like a referral, you can call us toll-free. Our toll-free number is 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. Did that help?
Okay, it sure does. Thank you very much, and I totally support your guys' cause. So,
thank you. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Good question.
Bye.
People need to know what those conditions are.
You bet. But they need to know that it's more than just these serious conditions.
Yeah.
That
it has
for
it helps with longevity.
Yes.
In terms of if you want to live a longer life, you should use cannabis.
Have you ever showed Dr. Melamede's interview you did on your show?
You never
yet?
did send it to me.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Well,
when?
I sent you a disc.
I don't remember it.
Oh my gosh, the U.S. Post. You know what? That agent of the federal government.
Someone's got it. Lanny and I
I
interviewed
hope
Dr.
he enjoyed it and
Melamede
learned
at the
something.
National Normal Conference, and I've been waiting for that.
I'll
But,
send it to you again.
all right,
That's
we got to
terrible.
get that down here. We need it in DVD format.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've got something fun to talk about.
go right ahead.
Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The governor.
Governor. That's our famous governor in California.
Arnold.
And he has, of course, he's made some very interesting comments about marijuana, and I thought I might just give you some quotes about the governor Arnold Schwarzenegger said about marijuana.
I mean, he smoked it in his movie Pumping Iron.
Well, here's what he said. In We magazine in 1977, he said, I enjoy grass and hash. No hard drugs. But the point is that I do what I feel like doing. Now, that's what he said in 1977. We're going to work our way up to his most recent statement. In 1989 in the LA Times, and I like this particular one, we smoked pot once or twice a week before we went to the gym. We smoked pot once or twice a week before we went to the gym. Now, one of the things I tell people is that to maintain a healthy lifestyle, you have to eat the proper foods, you have to get a good night's sleep, you have to exercise, and you have to use cannabis. They're all part of it. And what's so amazing that cannabis can really help you with the other three. I mean, cannabis is legendary for appetite stimulation.
Right.
So
that's a problem for me.
That's a problem for some people, but it doesn't have to be. Actually, cannabis can help you by not putting the kind of foods in your home that are high calorie and low nutrient fat, and putting just good
things
foods
like
in
this.
Yes,
Hemp
like this.
seed granola.
Well, this has got a lot of calories in it. Well, not that bad, 140. But anyway, you use cannabis, it'll make carrots and celery taste good.
No synthetic pesticides.
It'll make carrots and celery taste good, and you'll eat lots of salads and stuff.
I like celery.
All right, getting proper sleep, cannabis is legendary for helping with insomnia.
Certainly does help you sleep.
Helping you sleep. Now, what about exercise? What about exercise? Well, I tell people, I'm a nurse, and we tell people you got to go and exercise. That's why I says, but the problem is people find exercise boring. And so I tell them, dude, one of the best forms of exercise is walking. Get out and walk a half hour a day. But before
vaporize
you do it,
a couple chambers of cannabis, and
then to go out and take a walk.
The colors are brighter, the lights a little more intense.
What's interesting is that the governor recognized this. He recognized that marijuana is good for exercise.
Pump his iron.
He had said right here, we smoke pot once or twice a week before we went to the gym. Not after we got through at the gym to relax. We smoked pot before we went to the gym, because they would go in for 2 and 3 hour and 4 hour workouts. And they knew that smoking marijuana would make the exercise more enjoyable and more rewarding and more stimulating. And so the governor of our state of California knew, before you go exercise, smoke some marijuana.
I thought it was really interesting recently. Several right-wing groups, after he became governor, urged him to take the scene of him smoking marijuana at the gym out of that film Pumping Iron, which was an Academy Award winner back in the 70s. But he refused. He said, nope, that's what I did, and that's the way I lived, and I'm not changing it or hiding it.
Well, here's a couple more quotes, more recent quotes from him. And here's the AP in November 2002. He said, I did inhale. That was in the 70s, okay? And finally, the latest...
You did it on a movie. I mean, how can you hide it?
Yeah. And latest was in GQ magazine in October of 2007, when he was asked about marijuana as a drug. He replied, that is not a drug, it's a leaf. Governor of California. Now, I wish, but he still goes ahead. Yeah, but he doesn't put into action what he says.
Right.
He vetoed the hemp bill.
That's
he vetoed
right.
a lousy hemp bill because... And why did he veto it? Because he thinks cops are too stupid to tell the difference between hemp marijuana, hemp cannabis, and psychoactive. He thinks cops are really dumb. Well,
he's right. We've got. Right. Well, sorry out there, you police officer. We have another caller though. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Yeah. Hi, Paul.
Hey. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Good.
You guys are doing a good job there.
We keep
trying. A couple questions for you and a comment.
Go right ahead.
Question is about the leaves from the plants that we grow. How can we best prepare them for recipes?
You want to cook them at a very low heat. It causes the carbon dioxide molecule to strip off. That's called decarboxylation. That makes it medicinally active. You can grind it up either before or after you heat it up. Put it at about 200 to 215 degrees and cook it for 45 minutes to an hour. Then you can put it into anything that you're going to eat, or into capsules. Dr. Baer recommends you just put it directly into 00 size capsules and take one of those capsules in the morning, in the middle of the day, and before you go to bed at night to have a constant level of CBD. And it's CBD that's the main ingredient in cannabis that helps for controlling pain, spasms, seizures, glaucoma, and certain neurodegenerative diseases.
Can't you
right.
take leaves and
okay, now how about from the plant to the cooking source though? What should be the process from when we first cut it to when we go to cook it?
You want to dry it out. You want to let it dry for 7 to 10 days, slowly in a cool, dry location, dark location.
So completely dry. Now maybe spread it on some newspapers or something like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Let it get completely dry, and then you cook it. You've got to dry it out first. Then you don't want to cook it over 215 degrees because some of the active ingredients could start to vaporize.
Okay, well, I've got the recipes. When the last time I went to the clinic I got some recipes there, so I've got that down. Now, the other question I've got for you about that particular substance is, how much of it are you allowed to possess, and does it have anything to do with your total amount of the plant that you can have?
Here in Oregon, it counts the same as the flowers. So you're allowed to possess a total of 24 ounces. Now, that would exclude stem or any parts of the cannabis that aren't usable. But under Oregon's law, you're allowed to possess up to 24 ounces. Under California, it's 8 ounces. Is that right?
Can you possess 24 ounces of hash?
Yes, you could possess 24 ounces of just hash under Oregon's law as well, even though there's some officers outside of Multnomah County that might disagree with you on that. They will be educated shortly after they find out about it, if need be.
Okay, very good. That was a couple of questions that really needed answered, and I have a comment for you.
Please.
Tim sounds great every week. I'd love to hear him, but he breaks up a little bit. Maybe it's because his guitar is going straight into the board instead of using an amplifier.
Sometimes we have better equipment, and sometimes we use the equipment here in the studio, and all I can do is stand up here and play. But I appreciate that.
It sounds awesome anyway, but I just thought I'd let you know every once in a while you break up. But
I believe. Yeah, I know, and I know sometimes the microphones don't work as well, and we just, I'm glad for the input because we, since it's a live show, we never know, and
we keep trying to get better.
Yeah, we
do.
So
all the input is taken seriously.
Absolutely, it is. Thank you.
Right on. Well, hey, you guys just keep doing a great job.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. We're going to be on for about another 20 minutes or so here. If you have a question for us, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448.
Can I tell about my radio show?
Yeah.
And anybody here in the world can listen to the radio show as well. So we have, and I'm very proud of it because as far as we can tell, it is the first radio show ever that is being heard on a over-the-air broadcast station about marijuana. There's a lot of podcasts out there, but there's none that are over the air on about marijuana. And we're in the Inland Empire on radio station KCAA 1050 AM.
And what's the website for that?
Every Thursday at 7 o'clock, and the website is www.kcaaradio.com. So Thursdays at 7 night, go to that website, kcaaradio.com, and the top of the homepage there's a thing that says Listen Live. And you click on that, and you can actually hear the show, and you can call in and talk with our guests and stuff. We have great guests. We've had people from MPP and DPA, and Dennis Perone was on our show. Paul's on our show quite usually, and it's a lot of fun.
Most weeks. We sponsor it.
Yeah,
the
Cannabis
Foundation.
Thursday, 7 o'clock, KCAaradio.com. Click. You can also even see what's going on. You click on KCA TV, and you can see me in the studios waving my hands as I talk into a microphone.
Yep. Like you've done here tonight.
Yes.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hello. I got a question for you.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that, Tim, you're doing a great job.
Keep thank you.
And my question is, I'm a caregiver and a grower, and is the equipment at the end of the year, is that a write-off, a tax write-off anyway?
Yes, it is.
Your equipment, the rent on that section of your property that you're using is a write-off. Your supplies, your electricity, all of that is a write-off.
On the federal taxes.
Yeah, federal and state. And it's been approved by the IRS as for those individuals who've had that audited.
All right. You guys keep up the good work, and Tim, you keep rocking.
Thank you, man.
He will.
I
He will. In fact, you can even see him live tomorrow if you're a medical marijuana card holder at the monthly Oregon Normal Medical Marijuana get-togethers.
Very good segue.
For people out there, if you're a medical patient, you need excess medicine, or you need some starts or cuttings to get your garden going, then come on down with your medical marijuana card. You need to be in there no later than 11:45. I know they shut the doors at noon for this private meeting. And then there's music. I think it holds up to 220 people or so. It's at the Mount Tabor Theater at the corner of Southeast 49th and Hawthorne every second Saturday. That this month is the 12th, which is tomorrow as we're airing this.
I think we're going to two times this month too, aren't we?
Yeah, there's going to be another one, but the later, I think it's the 4th Saturday this month. They're going to start those. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's the Oregon Normal Medical Marijuana Cardholders Meeting. And you've got to be an Oregon Normal member. If you're not, you can join when you're there. I think they charge $35 a year, but then you can come to 2 of these a month where you can get freely dispensed medical marijuana and some plants to help get your garden going. You can meet caregivers, you can meet other gardeners, and just generally have a good time. It's a lot of fun.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
that is incredible.
It's a very popular thing, so they're probably already lining up out there.
Yeah, that's true. It's quite the line.
Yeah,
that's Oregon for you. We love it.
Well,
yep.
Free marijuana, people would line up, weeks in advance.
Right.
That's true.
Should already be there now.
That's
well,
true.
Thanks for your call. Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
All right. We have a film clip we're going to roll now, and we'll be back here in just a couple of minutes. This is a clip from the movie Hemp Revolution, which is a really exciting film that came out about 6 years ago. Stay tuned.
Its destiny and human destiny are very intertwined. And there are few plants in the world that have been as useful to human beings.
From deep within the earth, a voice is calling. The synthetic age is surely falling. Stop running from the gifts that are here for you. Stop running down your self-destructive way. It's time to turn and usher in the new. It's the dawn of the natural cycle, and it's here to stay. It's the dawn of the natural cycle, and it's here to stay.
There's no need to be flattening these forests. We could be doing it with alternative fibres.
It really is an ideal material for papermaking.
Unlike cotton, hemp can be grown entirely without pesticides or insecticides.
It can replace all petroleum as far as fuel, electricity, nuclear energy.
Doctors, pharmacists, pharmaceutical companies are very threatened by the idea of people having direct access to substances that really work.
Only 100 years has Western humanity and civilization actually grappled with the dilemmas which these substances pose.
Millions have been and continue to be arrested.
It's a blatant case of industrial espionage to remove competition.
Mention of hemp has been erased from museums and textbooks.
Hemp could be and will be the greatest economic engine that we have seen probably in the history of the human race.
All right, that's the Hemp Revolution. The movie came out about 96. We have another caller, though. Hello, caller, you're on the show.
Hi, I was just watching you talk about the fact that cannabis does not cause lung cancer.
Sure.
And my question is, was a study done in which the subjects were smoking directly, like in a pipe or rolling it in paper, or were they using this thing I hear you talk about called like a volcano?
The vaporizer. No, these are smokers. They were not using vaporizers at all. In fact, there's an epidemiological study. The study he's talking about was from Donald Tashkin, and it's about 2 years old.
It's a population-based study. So.
But there's a huge study done with 70,000 people altogether by Kaiser Permanente back in 2001. They had 40,000 non-smokers and 30,000 smokers. These were people who smoked marijuana. And they found that in the 30,000, the only thing that they had more of was bronchitis. There was a lower incidence of lung cancer, lower incidence of accidents among the marijuana smokers. The only thing that marijuana smokers had a higher incidence of was bronchitis.
And that can be prevented if we vaporize.
Exactly. And I personally quit smoking about 6 years ago and just use a vaporizer myself, which is the device you were talking about.
But our government has held up a shipment of volcanoes into this country because It's drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, the
so
DEA recently ruled that the Volcano, which is my favorite vaporizer, is drug paraphernalia. And the company Stork & Bickel out of Germany has decided to stop exporting them to the United States because they've had a large amount of their inventory held and seized by the Drug Enforcement Administration.
So they're withholding the implements that will make using cannabis safer.
That's right. Now, before, when I was a smoker, I had a bronchitis where I was coughing and I'd have phlegm. But within a week of starting using the Volcano, that all went away.
Now, is that Volcano very expensive?
Yes, it's about $500 retail.
Yeah. But you can make a good vaporizer with a heat gun, which is a hardware device, kind of looks like a blow dryer, for about $100, $150.
Are there plans how to do that, like on the net or something?
Yeah.
You go to the internet.
Very simple.
Go to the internet, Google, Yahoo, type in vaporizer, and you'll be inundated by websites with information on vaporizers.
All right. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for your call and your question.
You know, as a nurse, that's I talk about. Oh, that's cool.
Hey, what I always tell people is this is a volunteer show. All of us, including us here on the camera, are all volunteers.
Even the
There's a crew of 4 people.
I'm not making a comment.
Well,
I'm just.
I
say, as a nurse, I believe that, I tell people they should be vaporizing, but I believe that in the hospital system, when I was working in a hospital, I worked on a cardiac wing. And, on a cardiac wing, people are really stressing because they've got problems with their heart. And, you begin to think about your mortality and this kind of stuff. They need to calm down. We need to distress them. So what do? We give them Ativan and Xanax and this kind of stuff. What they need is what I call a cannabis vaporization treatment. And we go around with vaporizers, the nurses do, and even the nurses' aides can do it, and they say, would you like a cannabis vaporization treatment? And it would be so beneficial to the patients because it would relax them and make them feel good. And nurses support marijuana. The California Nurses Association, most nurses associations are in favor. And there's a reason why nurses are so in favor of it. And that is because one of the major attributes of cannabis is it makes you feel better. It makes you feel better as well as doing the other therapeutic benefits it gives you. And for a nurse, when a patient is feeling better, they're more likely to respond to the therapeutic treatments we are giving them in a positive way. And also, and probably very, very important too, is that as a nurse, it is way, way easier to take care of a patient that is feeling better than a patient that is feeling worse. So marijuana would make the jobs of nurses way easier, as well as making the patients better. And this is insane that patients are denied this. People suffer in hospitals because they are denied cannabis vaporization treatments.
There you have it.
There you have it. Ask any nurse.
Now, I would like to remind our viewers out there that Lanny here actually came up with the name of this TV show and our slogan, which is the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition. And the first 120 episodes of this show were filmed by Lanny Swerdlow in his own private studios here in Portland. They got us off the ground. Now we're up to 440
It is so cool to know that something you started is continuing without you being there. So I'm really very proud of the fact that you have kept this show and all you people that kept this show going.
It's
because it's so
crew
important.
Of volunteers here. We've got a dozen volunteers that you don't see on camera who really keep this thing
Every
going.
week they're here, too.
And these people get it out to the general public, and that's what's so important. The government puts out all its lies. We have to counter it. We don't have millions of dollars to take out advertising with taxpayers' money like the government does. And so shows like Cannabis Common Sense are so important, and it's great that you've got this show in cable outlets throughout the country. That is, we need it throughout. We need it everywhere.
And on YouTube. So if you're out there and you want to watch it, you can watch it through YouTube on demand or through our our portal site on the internet, hemp.org. That's www.hemp.org.
And I'm doing a new TV show down where I live in the Coachella Valley. It's called Marijuana, Compassion, and Common Sense. And it's nowhere near as sophisticated as this show. Let me tell you, the show I'm doing down there, it starts out with me talking, then we go to an interview where I'm talking to somebody else, then it comes back to me in the end of the show. But if you want to see it, you can go to our website at www.marijuananews.org. And there'll be a section where you can click on.
And it's on YouTube as well.
And it's on YouTube as well. But I just want to talk about one other thing real quickly. If you go to our website, and click down to this photo of this elderly couple, Joanne and Rich McCabe.
And now you're talking about your website. Now that's the marijuananews.org. I don't think we've said that one here yet tonight.
Yeah,
so you're saying go to
Marijuana News.
Marijuana Anti-Prohibition Project's website.
Marijuananews.org. Not .com, .org. Yeah. And there's a picture of this elderly couple who were just recently busted for growing marijuana. They're legitimate medical marijuana patients. And I cannot believe this. I can't. They went to this couple's home and they took all their plants. A 74-year-old great-grandmother, they handcuffed her and took her to jail. They knew she was a legitimate medical marijuana patient. But, you know, they couldn't give her, they couldn't just take her plants and issue her a citation. No, they had to put her in handcuffs, take her to jail to act as a warning to any other grandmother out there that might think of using marijuana to treat their arthritis.
Now, where did this
This happened in San Bernardino County. I told you it was medical marijuana hell. In San Bernardino County, they refused to issue the ID card. San Bernardino County, along with San Diego County, has filed a lawsuit to overturn Proposition 215.
And they lost in court.
They lost in court a year ago.
They're appealing.
They're appealing. They are going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, taxpayers' dollars, trying to get this law. But what's so absurd is that who's defending the law? The state of California. So the state attorney general's office is spending hundreds of thousands, or not millions of dollars of taxpayers' monies, fighting the taxpayers' monies is being spent to overturn the law.
Of San Bernardino and San Diego County. Yeah.
It is insane.
One taxpayer dollar against the other taxpayer dollar.
It's just insane. And so this is why we're going before the San Bernardino. Anyway, they busted. The law enforcement in San Bernardino County is so insane.
Well, that's why our new office there in Riverside is right on the border of San Bernardino County.
Yes, so we're in the belly of the beast.
The Hemp and Cannabis Foundation is going into the belly of the beast to fight these forces of evil.
I'll be flying down to San Diego here in about 10 days
for that new festival.
Well, we're going to be putting together the first hemp festival in Southern California. Imperial Valley is going to be putting together one, and I'll be hiring all the bands. And
no way.
Yes, way.
Imperial.
It'll be happening
Imperial County?
In September, the last weekend of September. So I'll let you know more.
Please let us know. We want to be there.
Oh yeah, we'll let you know
Imperial
more.
County?
Imperial Valley.
Oh, Imperial Valley.
Yes.
Imperial Valley.
But it's going to happen at the fairgrounds there
in San Diego.
Yeah.
This will be exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We have another caller that we'll get in here before the end of the show. Hello, caller. You're on our show. Hello, caller. Nope, he's gone. Well, I tried.
Well, you certainly did. Well, you missed talking with us, and that is a treat. So if you're out there listening, you can talk to us, because someday you're going to sit there and say, wow, you know, I talked to Paul Stanford and Lanny and Tim and someday.
That's right.
Someday.
That's right.
Okay. So anyway, this is really the Hemp Fest. They've never done a Hemp Fest in Southern California before?
No, not that I know of, and I've been playing all of them for a long time.
And who's doing this in San Diego?
I can tell you more once I get more information,
okay.
But I don't know who the sponsor is, but they have landed the sponsor. The the county has granted use of the fairgrounds, and
San Diego County.
Down in Imperial Valley.
San Diego County is the one that is
appealing the law. They're trying to fight.
We're going to fight them.
The belly of the beast. We're going to try another phone call, though.
Oh, okay.
Let's try that. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Maybe not.
Maybe it's somebody from San Diego. It's one of the county commissioners. But you know what's interesting? The city of San Diego has filed.
Oh, no, they're talking here.
I heard you.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, I had a question. I'm on probation, and my probation officer told me that if you smoke marijuana, your tits grow.
This is what? You smoke marijuana, you what?
Your tits grow.
Oh, no, not true. Ask your probation officer where he went to medical school.
That's right, yeah.
All right.
He's
Thank
wrong.
You know, there's another...
You know, if they did, women would all be smoking marijuana.
Right.
You know, they'd try to... Yeah. Why go and get a big implant or something? Just smoke some pot, man.
Yep. You know, there's you know, these when they talk about sexual studies, there is one sexual study that's really kind of cute that they said that showed that men who smoke marijuana, their sperm cells swim a little. They don't get to the egg as quickly as men who don't.
Didn't hurt with my 3 kids.
Well,
That's all I can say.
I was thinking, what it is that the cells are going down towards the egg, and they get halfway there, and they kind of stop and look around.
You're going to trick some people into thinking marijuana is birth control.
Oh, listen, that's true. That's it. There used to be this outfit called the anti-drug, WW anti-drug site put on by the Office of National Drug. We went to it. They had this list of 15 or so things about why smoking marijuana is a bad thing. And the number one thing, the first thing listed there was that adolescents that use marijuana are 5 times more likely to engage in sex than teenagers that don't. 5 times. That's one of the first things. Later on down, you get to this one down towards research has shown that
just tell the adolescents there and everybody
that
will be
if you use
smoking.
marijuana, you're less likely to cause pregnancy because of the slower thing.
You're more likely to have sex and you're less likely to cause...
Could you imagine a 16-year-old boy reading that? He's going to sit there and say, my God, where can I get this stuff?
Right. All right, Melanie, you know what? We're wrapping up here. Is there anything you want to say in closing about the Riverside Clinic or...
If you have friends in Riverside or San Bernardino County, let them know about the clinic. Let them know about our organization, our patient support.
Yeah, if you're out there and you've got chronic pain, nausea, spasms, seizures, glaucoma, all of those things, then we can help you. Just give us a call at any of our offices. I'm not going to run through all those numbers now, but you heard them before, and you can watch them again next week. I want to thank you for coming on, Lanny.
Thank you, Paul. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, too. I want to thank you, viewers, for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp. Okay, Tim, take us out, man. Let's look at some juicy buds.